Hello and welcome back to the Mayor's Update. We are live here on the Caps Off patio with our mayor, Joe Preston, as well as Shawn DeNeire. Shawn's the proprietor of DeNeire's Fine Art just across the street over here. Yes. So thanks for joining us, Shawn.
I appreciate being here. Thank you.
And Shawn, we're going to kind of start off with you tonight as kind of a bit of a guest because we've had some incidents on Talbot Street at your gallery. And we really wanted to share with the whole city kind of the reaction of what the police have done, what you've done, and what we think the next steps are, right? Or continuous steps. There's no next steps, but what our continuous steps are. Shawn, just explain real quickly what occurred yesterday, if you don't mind.
My girlfriend, long-distance girlfriend from Wakefield, who is managing my other gallery, came to visit for the weekend. We got together with a couple of people at the gallery. We ended our little meeting. Both Jennifer and I came outside. Of course, everybody I'm sure knows the plywood lock door that I have up there right now. It's got double lock, so it takes a little time to get it locked up. Jennifer's down on the sidewalk. I was up on the stoop, and we had a gentleman that was verbally abusing her from the side of the entry. I just kind of looked at her and said, just don't engage. I proceeded to put the lock on, put the second lock on. I heard a bang. I turned around, and his Gatorade bottle was down next to the garbage pail, which was a good 20 feet away from him. So I looked at Jennifer. I said, what happened? Oh, he threw it. Oh, okay. So he kept on verbalizing some obscenities to her, and I said, don't engage. Let's go. Let's walk away. So I proceeded we got in the vehicle. We came back across the front of our building, and he had already pulled my security gate that's been vandalized twice already and bent it. He had a rock in his hand.
I saw the size of the rock.
It had to be a size.
This wasn't in his pocket, so I don't know where it came from.
It was a concrete, almost like the size of a concrete block, and he was threatening the drivers of vehicles that were stopping for the traffic light, like he was going to throw it at them. And we proceeded to go and talk to our friend Paul at Pizza, and we turned around, and there happened to be 4 police officers surrounding him, this gentleman.
So someone has obviously called the St. Thomas police and said there's a guy with a rock.
Correct, and he was threatening drivers that he was going to throw it at them. And that's when my girlfriend finally decided to put on me that she got assaulted by him. Okay. So we went over, talked to the police, we gave our statements, and they chose to arrest him for assault. And I was very, very pleased with the young police that we're dealing with. They're professional. They explained to us, you need to understand what's going to happen here. He'll be out tomorrow. We said we understand that. This has got nothing to do with the city police force. You're doing your job with what is given to you.
Well, and here on Mayor's Update, we certainly have talked to this before, that our catch and release problem with the courts, even when a crime that is a physical assault, is not enough to hold somebody for more than that night. Right. To the next court date. Our police are very good about holding them overnight, but they actually get the next morning at court, why did you hold this person overnight? That wasn't a serious enough crime. And I as the mayor, I keep holding up my side of the bargain and saying that's incorrect. Well, look, and I'm not looking to lock people up forever for minor crimes. I'm looking to lock up people who continue to create minor crimes. At 10 or 12 crimes, you start to teach people you don't want to be on the street.
Well, the thing is, it's almost like you need to address the courts. What if this was your child? What if this was your husband? What if this was your wife that got assaulted? Right. Put yourself in the other person's shoes and releasing them. Is that okay?
Yeah.
What do we need to do? Incarceration?
No.
These people need help.
Right. And you and I talked about this today in a phone call, and more than once we've talked about this. Yeah. Chris Harridge, our police chief, and I, and Graydon, we've had him on. We've talked the same thing. He said there isn't enough handcuffs in the world to solve this problem. The problem is solved with mental health and addictions support.
Correct.
And we continue to ask in a community the size of St. Thomas for that level of support. And we have a hospital that is well known for its mental health ability. We need them to step up and take that role too. And excuse me, but we're not saying no. If a Crown attorney or someone else would love to come on Mayor's Update and share with us their thoughts about the catch and release program, this mayor would be happy to sit here and listen to your thoughts about why that would be the case. Shawn, I think you and I talked today about drug court. That's a previous piece we used to have, where people who are suffering from addictions can have an option of not doing jail, but by detox and rehab and getting off. And we'd love to see some of those programs more prevalent in St. Thomas. They used to be. We'd like to get them back. We'd also like to get a place where we're not arresting, like the fellow you had this week. From a mental health point of view, we're saying it's a crisis mental health situation today.
Well,
and we have a timeout.
The interesting thing about this fellow is I know his name.
Right.
We've chatted on the front step. He's actually gone along the sidewalk, picked up garbage, put it in the garbage can.
Right.
And then there's certain days where something like this
it's
happens.
There's a click and it's different. Different guy.
We don't know if it's mental health with this individual. We don't know if it's mental health. We don't know if it's drug or alcohol addiction.
And nor do we need to. We simply need to know that there's a help needed, a help wanted sign going up.
Right.
And so let's all make that happen, right? So mayor's phone's going off. We hope it's not a real crisis at the moment. We'll get to it right after this segment of Mayor's Update. But Shawn, we're talking about the same things. And look, I certainly and Graydon, we wanted to share this. Shawn is certainly a candidate for council. Working with us in this election. There's a number of councillors. And look, if others want to be on and talk this issue too, we'll do our absolute best to do the same thing. We picked Shawn first because an occurrence happened at his downtown business. I happen to believe that we need as many business people on council as we can possibly get, right? But that's neither here nor there on this topic. Look, we're not excluding or including anybody here from a political advantage point of view. We thought the story was well shared in downtown St. Thomas. I've had 4 years of being the mayor in this community, and it was an ugly day today when I had to call Shawn and say, Shawn, tell me what happened. How did this go? We need to be able to do a better job for all our citizens, but that includes 45,000 citizens.
I was very pleased. I wasn't able to read all the replies, but the replies I did read this morning were very, very positive, and people are starting to understand that there is a crisis here that needs to be dealt with, and you can't leave it up to a municipal level. It's got to be provincial and federal to be kicked in, because that's where the funding comes from.
And in our conversation today, Graydon, and you and I have had this conversation a number of times, we talked about where we're at, whether what's happened perfectly at Rail City Lofts, what will happen at the Queen Street building, another 45 micro apartments with full support for mental health and addictions. Is it over then? No. The municipal government in this community has to carry on forever. This is not a stop, but we can't ignore the emergency shelter piece we must have. We've got to be able to house people out of the cold, and we have to be able to add the supportive housing piece that Indwell adds to us at the other ends of the issue. I just got back from Ottawa, and I got to say how far along we are compared to some other communities. Look, and this isn't the mayor blowing his own horn. This is other communities coming to us and saying, we hear you've already done this, and you're on the step. But I had a conversation with one of our local community activists this week, and she turned to me and said, "Why does it take so long to build an apartment building?" I said, well, you probably need to go watch, but each house takes that many months to build, and if you add them together and make an apartment building, we're trying to build a housing with a fire hall in it and 45 units of supportive housing. These things don't just go up overnight. Do I wish we could open it tomorrow?
Yes,
absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. That's what we need to do. And Shawn, you're seeing the same things on a day-to-day basis in our downtown community, and we're saying the same things. And we're not throwing our hands in the air and saying it's not possible. We're throwing our hands in the air and going, we can do this.
Well, the thing is, that, most people need to understand there's a process, and it's just not a snap of the finger and it's done tomorrow.
Right.
And we need to be patient. It will happen if we get the right people in place to make it happen, but it's going to take some time, and everybody needs to understand.
Well, and I think I shared with you today, and you agreed. We had a council that thought wholeheartedly, we got to go down this path. Now we're at an election time and things are changing. There'll be some new people coming on the council. Boy, the last thing we need is a council that's going to be half one way and half another. We need to be able to continue. And I don't mean yes men. I don't need people who just say yes to what the mayor's saying.
You want people who have the ability to communicate on a
What's the solution as you see it? And is there a quicker way?
Well, I think that's really the point, is that everyone wants a solution. So if you're out there and you have solutions or you have ideas, bring them forward.
I got 100 of them today.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about communication between the community and the city hall.
Right.
It has to be open.
Yeah.
If we don't hear what they have to say, sorry, I shouldn't say we.
No, it's good.
Council
and you
doesn't
need to
hear
think that
what
way.
the public has to say, how they're going to be heard. Right?
Well, which is why we do Mayor's Update. And I mean, you talked a little bit about that. And Graydon, we're 4 years now into being as transparent as we could, and during an absolute pandemic, almost every day talking about what's going on in St. Thomas.
I don't know any other community that does this. That's the amazing thing.
I've had other mayors call me and say, "Do you mean you do that?" And people get to ask questions. People get to leave comments after the fact. Don't you get told to get your head out of your ass? Yeah, I do. I mean, well, clearly, look. Let me. I mean, keyboard warriors are out there. The people that think they know better than you, but you have to be able to. If you're not listening to them, you're certainly not listening to somebody who has a really good idea.
And I have said since I started my campaign is that I'm here to listen first.
Right.
I need to hear what people have to say, so I can take that information to council.
Right. What's the solution? Right. Absolutely. I mean, I shared with you, and Graydon knows my favorite saying. Yes is the answer. Now, what was the question? Yeah. All right. And we can move forward. And we had pieces of property in this community we never thought of before. It was just, I remember the day I asked our city manager about the second floor at the transit building. I said, what do we got up there? We can do housing. And we just thought, it's a building we already own. How long is it going to take for us to put 16 micro apartments in there and get people in there? And it was a fairly short rebuild. Right.
And you had help from the provincial government to do
Absolutely. It was not our money. Yeah. We own the building, and that's what the city has to do, is come forward. And oftentimes the minister of the day asks us, well, have you got a spot for this? Do you have a piece of property we could give you the money to build one? The same thing happened with the Shrine Club, where the inn is now. It was a building that was sitting there empty, barely being operated at all, and it came to us in a fairly good sense from a financial point of view. Province gave us the money to go buy the building and do most of the renovations. Now, in the inn, in those days, the Inn out of the Cold was operating out of Central United, and they said, we'll transfer our facilities with you. We'll run it. We'll do the not-for-profit side of it, but we're doubling our capacity by moving to the inn. Now, as we also talked today, look, it's not going as well as the neighbors would like. And we need the inn to do a better job of being stricter with the outside of their building. We recognize we have to shelter 40 people in there at night. And when it's cold, I'm glad we've got a place we can shelter them. But we also need to make sure there's not 5 people lined up in the alley between back alley and the inn, that there's not a tent on the front steps, that we're not causing people to hang out in front of Shawn's business and cause him lack of business because of it. We need the inn to be better at it too. For those of you that saw Mayor's Update, we had the inn at council. We've asked them for that, and we'll continue to ask for that. But we'll continue to ask the neighbors, what else is next? That building in the future is for more supportive housing. When the shelter is no longer needed, the city owns the building and is the landlord of that building. We can turn it into more affordable and supportive housing pretty quick.
Now, when you're saying no longer needed, that building no longer needed for that.
For shelter, for
shelter.
emergency shelter. We think our inventory of it's a terrible way to put it. We have a just-in-time inventory of homelessness in our community. We do it every year, and it's 99 people. That's what it was last year. It's what it was the year before. We're not varying too much. And we know that if we can house, permanently house and social house, supportive house, 99 people, we'll have solved the large part of the problem. As you're finding where your business is, there's a number of people that will not come in, won't use the shelter, won't use even our supportive housing. So it's not a total 99. There are some that we. So with 45 new units at the Queen Street, 16 units at the Rail City Loss, and the rest of them left over at the shelter, plus the new building we want to build to go with that, which would be another 60. We've more than covered our 99, our 100.
Plus
right?
tiny homes.
Plus the tiny homes that Doug Terry and the Y and Sanctuary Home want to build. Plus all of what Doug's trying to do, Doug Terry and the community is trying to do on the railway lands. We keep looking also for future and more city-owned land. Well, the downstairs at the Trans Center may be next. We may say, well, what could we do there instead of housing? We have to keep buses warm at night, or perhaps people. Maybe we'll go that route. And you see how well the Lofts is running itself, how clean the area is around it, how well Indwell does it running their businesses. So we've got some other city property. Let's remember, Graydon, it wasn't a year ago you and I were sitting here talking about 423 Talbot, where we had the warming and cooling center from a COVID point of view of a downtown shelter. Yes, I had merchants from that area asking me to do physically impossible things. So I get my head out of bounds. And I get it. And the year before that, how about CTP Computers and the PSNE right next door to it? Look, I'm not saying we're moving the problem. I'm saying we need the owners of the building and the operators of the buildings to help the city run them better and make. Look, if somebody's hanging out front of the inn, we need to go to them and say, come on inside. We've got all the support you need in here. It's a place to be. I don't want to be inside. Then you need to move on to some other place in our community. And that's the two choices. And with the new 6 new police officers this week, security, what do we call them, special constables, we're going to talk about them, in the downtown, that's their job too, and specifically in the area around the inn. So we're working with our police services on this and making it work.
And
you got questions?
like we talked about before, this is mostly a funding issue and an organizational issue from the province and the federal government. Right. So that's something that, as a municipal government, you can advocate to those avenues to find the solutions, because your mandate doesn't really cover mental health, does it?
Well, I have no health care in my budget at all as a municipal employee. We just don't. We have housing. So we can do the physical 4 walls, but if we're going to add mental health to it or addictions control to it, like Don and Ginny are doing out down at the Annex or anything else, we have to go to the province for funding for mental health issues.
And I did share that this morning,
right,
on that post, that what is happening here, we can't jump all over the city because it is a provincial and federal funded.
Right. We got a few connections, so it's okay if we call our friends every so often and say, can you fix this?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And we shame them into it a little bit too, and we just spent some time at AMO doing exactly the same thing. So we will do it.
Yeah, and I think the thing too is if you show, like, I believe the record over the past 4 years has been really, really good in this respect, and therefore, if you can continue that trajectory and continue to improve it, then we're going to be in a good situation. Because one of the things I look at is, like, if we hadn't done everything we've done as a city over the past 4 years, I'd be afraid to see where we are now. Yeah, it's not good. There are issues, we're facing them. But if we hadn't done all those things, if you guys, the mayor and the council, hadn't done everything they'd done to support this, and the provincial government coming in with funding,
I take MPP Urich as being our biggest advocate during that time. And now with Rob Flack, same. Right, but we've got to count on them getting the money, an unequal amount of money for St. Thomas than other communities.
Yeah.
Sorry, Timmins, or wherever else it might be, St. Thomas is being loud and getting it done.
But we've got a good track record.
Right. And
So
that's why
we're going to
they'll come
spend
here.
the money well.
Right.
There's a good fiscal record. So we can take that money, we can apply it appropriately, and maybe we can design a program that other communities are going to implement in their communities because we've done so well. That's my goal with all of this,
Right.
is talk to everybody, let everyone know, have them ask the right people, and then get things done and get it moving in a positive direction.
Well, and look, I don't do this for the good of health. I mean, I'm the mayor of this community, and I've had 4 years fun doing it. People ask me, and I say, well, I'm now calling it my retirement. It's what I will do because I'm retired. And I'm having a lot of fun being the full-time mayor in a community that doesn't have one. But it's about gathering the right people.
Absolutely.
Yourself from a mayor's update, Shawn from the thoughts and ideas of what he's seen on Talbot Street, and the rest of the council that has been very, I called them my housing council a lot, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's going to lead the piece, right? But we need to do this. This is where we need to go. Right?
Absolutely. And Beth Douglas has a good point. She says, next step is treatment for people. Is there thoughts on what's possible?
Mm-hmm. Well, not only thoughts on what's possible, but some dreams of what's even more than possible. Right now, we've been really clear about the St. Thomas needing some size of detox, rehab, and mental health crisis center. Whether it's 5 beds, 10 beds, and Minister Tabullo has been very open to our conversations, and the community groups that we've gathered, CMHA, the ACT team, the hospital, the city, YWCA. I mean, we don't do this independently because, as I said, I don't have a healthcare budget.
Yeah.
So I went and got the people that have a healthcare budget and said, if we found you some of this, will you let the city be involved and help you with it? The police and our MOST team,
It's
our
incredible.
mental health team, and the same thing with the Canadian Mental Health Street team. This is not each person. When one group tries to work independently against us, it slows us down.
Yeah.
And so we have to all work together to make this happen.
I know some people think that because it's located downtown, most of the issues are downtown.
Yeah.
It's not just a downtown problem.
No.
I think we all know that.
Yeah.
It is starting to infiltrate through the entire city.
Yeah.
And it's something that needs to be, spearheaded and dealt with in a timely.
Well, and
efficient
some
manner.
of it's crime. Shawn, you and I talked about some of this isn't mental health and addiction. Some of it is a tech connected to addiction. But 32 Princess, we had a large bus there just a week ago. Now, you got real problems at the inn. Well, 2 doors down, there's a house that was just full of stolen goods, right? So I love our police. We did a great job of the crime detection people of doing that job of going in there and fixing that.
And that's not easy. They have to prove that stuff's all stolen. This is
Well, and you'd be surprised how many people just kind of give up on their stolen bike. And I asked the chief yesterday at Police Services Board, how much of this stuff has been returned? He said, well, we've got a warehouse full of people who just don't seem to care that their bike was stolen. So we need the help. Look at that. We get it. That was a really big role for citizens to play, to say, I've seen out front bikes, I've seen stolen goods. And so our police spent some real time getting the facts so that so the charges will stick and the people aren't out of court in one day, right? But way to go, St. Thomas Police Services. I love what they're capable of doing. We added downtown patrols with Catherine 2 years ago now, 3 years ago during COVID.
Yeah.
And now we've added even more. There's cities out there that still don't allow their cops to be out of cars, that don't do beat patrol like we do.
Wow.
Well, I'm sorry. What do you think that?
Well, it's like you said, the average growth for the city is 1,000 per year. I mean, their hands are full now.
Right. Yeah, we've got to keep working on them on being able to be more functional with the budget they have, and work obviously on new budget as we need it. But I'm pretty pleased with the St. Thomas Police Services and the fire services too. We're a good growing community that has lots of help. And what if I can blow the horn of the city employees? You see those white trucks that say St. Thomas on the side. We've kind of called on them to be more than whatever it is they do each day, whether it's trash or water or sewers or parks, that when you're driving by, please help us out too. You see an issue in St. Thomas, please stop and help us with clearing up campground or clearing up litter that we found. And so the city of St. Thomas is really trying to move from a customer service point of view in a different direction. So, okay. Sorry, Mayor came from a customer service background. I don't know if you can notice
Yeah,
that.
surprise,
We
surprise.
think we should serve people better. But any other questions on here tonight, Graydon, that we should
No,
get? No,
we
we're doing
haven't
good.
had any questions really come in so much. So if you're watching, let us know your questions. If you are watching after the fact, which happens most of the time, let us know your questions. We'll address them either in the comments on this episode or we'll address them in the next episode.
Right.
Sean, do you have any other questions for us?
No, I think we covered quite a bit here without making this another 3-hour program. Yeah,
Well-
I mean, there's lots of issues.
Yeah.
I mean, people need to go to the council meetings and share
Yep.
what the issues are, and hopefully we can, or
Well,
anybody,
or in person, whether it's on the patio at Caps Off,
absolutely,
or in that
communicate,
council,
talk about things.
or on Mayor's Update. Share, please.
Absolutely.
Look, I get a lot of one-offs on Facebook, and I see you're starting to get that too, right? Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent,
Yes.
right? We need to ask people, would you please come to One Center Place? Would you please use our customer service system if it's a problem with the city? Would you please let us know on Mayor's Update if it's something that we think 100 people should know in St. Thomas? Why am I answering it 100 times on Facebook or any social media?
And I have shared online to come to 584 Talbot Street if you want to sit and have coffee and tea and
If
talk
you've
about
not
whatever
been
comes
in,
to your mind.
if you haven't been in, I've got to tell you,
I don't know.
yeah. I know you've been in. I went in there, had nice coffee the other day, but I spent an hour of, wow, look at that. I mean, I admire the two of you because you're both artists and you're just
You are,
crazy.
aren't you?
And I only have one art, and that's that I speak well. It's the only art I have. Don't try this at home, kids. But both of you do a great job on that too. So, Sean, thank you for joining us
Well,
tonight.
thanks for
Thank
having
you for
me.
sharing the story that it is about what we're talking about in this election.
and I know
It
I'm not the
truly
only one.
is.
It's
No, I
happened
get
to many people out there.
So, should others have similar stories, we want to hear them too.
Yeah.
Should anybody else who's thinking of council want to come and talk to the mayor? Of course, I've been visiting with every council anybody who's put their name forward that wants to come talk.
Oh,
I'm great.
You're very easily approachable. There's no
Well,
question about that.
Well, the advice is I charge you for it. It's free, right? That's the value of it, right? So we just love doing it, and it's great. We want a couple of events that are coming up.
We do. We've got one more question coming in.
Yes.
Rob Burns is asking, why are you building new housing when 423 Talbot beside Mary Street is empty?
Because it's surplus property to the city. It was an old an old building that housed our social service building. We used it through COVID as a warming, cooling, day rest center. It has some, I want to be careful what I say. It's a surplus property. We're trying to sell it in its entirety for someone else's use downtown. It's a great, could be a great office building for somebody in the downtown. We've already priced out through developers as to what it would cost to turn it into housing from the offices that it currently is, and it would be a significant cost. Not to say we won't do it and won't use it for that. Council can make that decision once we decide what we think it could list for and maybe get us. Because if we get that money, then we can go to an empty lot like the underneath at the lofts, or the empty lot beside the fire station on Burwell. Some of the other property that St. Thomas owns, and build straight up and down.
Right.
But when you're renovating old buildings, it's a lot more costly than if you're taking green ground. So, fantastic question. We have been offered a couple of old homes in town lately. Hey, would you buy my old, fourplex? Or you need housing? Yeah, but I'm sorry, but I don't. As the mayor, I don't necessarily need housing. It's going to cost me $300,000 or $400,000 to renovate into safety for people. So that was the part of the money we spent at the inn at the old Shrine Club. We really did do it so that it could be future use in a less than emergency shelter, but more of a housing point of view. So can work.
Very good.
Yep.
So it's coming together. Basically, you're working on it. People are thinking about it. They're talking about it. And if the province comes through with more money for you, we'll make it way easier.
We'll start tomorrow, right? We'll start tomorrow. And certainly in conversations with Indwell and even with the province from AMO, we've got 2 or 3 irons in the fire. And I do hesitate to say them out loud because someone else can go go do them instead. We really want this from a supportive housing point of view. Well, the straight numbers, and this will be, if you come to one of the all candidates, I mean, you'll hear a lot more numbers from the mayor about how many single family homes we built this in the last 4 years, how many apartment buildings we built in the last 4 years. These are things that have to happen in every community, and we're happy that they do, because if the supply goes up, the cost of affordability in other housing goes down. But there are things that cities must do, and that is affordable housing and supportive housing, like we're doing. And we'll continue to do those, and they're not cheap, but so we need partners.
Right.
We also, there's no government agency that runs something better than a private business. There just isn't. Private businessmen get to know how to run something and do it right. And Indwell is kind of our in on that. Indwell can, although they're a charity, are getting very good at running supportive housing.
Perfect.
All right.
All right. So, Shawn, do you want to stick around for the rest, or?
Sure.
Sure. All right. All
Great.
right.
We're just we got a bunch of things to cover from events coming up.
Yeah.
So let's say it's Wednesday night. I don't know of anything happening tomorrow.
Nope.
But Friday night, we got Dancing with the Stars at the Queso Station. I'm the judge.
But it's sold out.
I do, but I wasn't invited.
Okay. I'm the world's best chair dancer. I can do anything. So that's Friday night. Saturday, what do we got? First thing Saturday morning out at Faith Church is the kids' mud run.
Junior Jumbo
mud run
challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. They just dig a bunch of holes, fill them with water, and kids have this obstacle course.
It's supposed to rain, so I don't think
it'll be perfect.
The firefighters are going to be there, though.
Oh, no, the firefighters, they spray the whole place down. The mayor had to avoid mud last year or the year before. So, yeah. All right. That's first. Second, market is on. Obviously, Horton Market is on Saturday morning, and I got to get there. I've missed a lot of Horton Market this year. And then there's a plowing match.
But before that, there's a tour.
Oh,
there's
the downtown
Old Town tour.
Oh, the Old Town tour, is that Saturday on the 10th?
That's Saturday.
And Steve's got the first one.
Yeah, so Steve's going to be running. Steve is also running for re-election as a councillor. He's an amazing guy, a great historian, and they're going to be starting from the Horton Market. And I believe there's going to be about 3 tours that will start at different times. So go on to the Railway State Tourism website, get all the info, and take the tours and learn a little bit about the history of St. Thomas, because it's rich.
Downtown St. Thomas. It's incredible, the things that have happened in downtown. I know when I used to do tours of the old Queso Station, we used to maybe make things up, like this is the corner the Beatles played in, and this is okay. Some of these things may not have happened. I don't know. I won't swear to
it could have.
Right.
I mean, it's a timeline.
Queen
right?
Victoria once. No, I'm just no. Anyway, so that's also happening Saturday morning. The plowing. The Elgin County plowing match is, and the mayor has to go out and prove his plowing ability again.
Very nice.
They always get the mayor from St. Thomas. You won't know crap. Hey, I grew up on a farm. I know this stuff. Right.
I beat my dad at the plowing match one time, just for the record.
Some years they're horse driven.
Well,
Other
it was
years
I was
it's a
using
tractor.
horses.
Right.
Yeah.
I can do either. Right.
Yeah.
The part when you're behind a horse.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, people are yelling out. Which one's the horse's ass?
Okay.
No, so the hecklers at the plowing match. And then what else happened Saturday? There's one other thing in the afternoon. Oh, the police services board is having their tour between 1 and 4 at the police. If you don't get to look at, many of us don't get to ever go inside the police building, not the front door. So if you ever want to see the place from the front door in and the cells downstairs, please go on Saturday. Otherwise, turn yourself in Sunday and
stay the night.
We'll make that work. And then Sunday, there's the Center Ave Baptist Church is their last service. It's closing and becoming something else. Right? So I'm going over there on Sunday. What else we got next week?
I'm not sure, but if our viewers know, they should write it in the comments, and we'll share it out. Caps Off Golf Tournament on Sunday. But is that open or is that already full? Sold out. So I knew that one.
So you Caps Off folks who haven't been in the golf tournament, because I'm not there. Way to go.
We got some questions coming in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sean Nicholson, great show, fellas. How does an average Joe get involved in mental health issues in our community? Also, how about a little show and tell on Joe's new mug?
Okay. All right. So we'll put the mug a little closer. This is you do that while I talk about
Yeah.
mental health. That's the new mugshot
The mugshot.
mug, right? And
Burger what?
burglary, you know, like
Burglary.
burglary,
That's good.
right? We couldn't get it to come off the tongue as well as that, but that's the crime.
Okay.
All right. Mental health in our community, there is a number of ways, and for those of you, I know I've talked about Stephanie a lot. Stephanie's my wife and is bipolar. She calls herself a bipolar survivor because her grandfather did not survive his bipolar. But she does a lot of peer support. So some of the things you can do is just go online to groups like Stephanie's and be involved from a mental health point of view. But in our community, the community of Canadian Mental Health Association and Addictions Ontario, the ACT team from St. Joseph's are always looking for volunteers. Now, you're not likely to get into counseling people on mental health, but you're there to help them fundraise and do other things. And that works extremely well in our community. If we're looking to have a detox center, a rehab center, then volunteering there helps that come faster. Don Trepanier and Ginny from Grace Cafe and the annex next door do a lot of counseling towards detox and rehab. And so go on in there. Offer to help. There's so many people that work every day at Grace Cafe serving meals. But that in itself is a help with mental health, and the annex next door the same way. The Inn is another great place that could use another 100 volunteers.
Looking for volunteers.
Huge. To help us serve meals, to help us provide mental health, to help us provide games and activities, and to help us with what is already there from a mental health point of view. I mentioned Indwell, and we don't mention them enough, but Indwell will also take all sorts of volunteers, both from a fundraising point of view, if you want to help Indwell raise funds for their next building, but also mental health and addictions, health, just mentoring skills. We've got people living now in supportive housing that we hope one day will be in housing of their own and in real jobs. So you think of everything on that path in supportive housing towards your own housing, a job that goes with it, right? So we're always looking for mentors and volunteers and ways to help. I hope I gave enough there, and I hope I didn't speak too much.
So for the people that don't know, does Inwell have an office here, or is that a contract online?
Look, it's a Southern Ontario thing, but if you went and talked to the Indwell people currently at the lofts, the Rail City lofts above the transit station, they'll let you know what volunteer opportunities are here, what might be in London, and what's coming up on the Queen Street building. So yes, great question.
Another question in here from Faye Gallagher. Other cities, towns have disbanded their city police and used their OPP. With the city police budget, we could pour budget into low income housing. ...
Impossible. Not saying no, but what we would like to see is the St. Thomas Police become responsible perhaps for more of those smaller communities. And that gives us the funding to help our police take some away from. Look, your city is doing its best on the things that it's responsible for, whether it's housing, garbage, water, sewer, police, fire. We'll do all we can. If there's a better way to deliver police, we'll look for it. But right now what we're finding is some of those smaller communities, like the rest of Elgin, have taken on the OPP at a fairly large price to be their police services. And maybe it would be better if it was the St. Thomas Police that covered larger areas.
What's interesting, I'll give a comparison, is Wakefield, Quebec.
Right.
It's not recognized as a village or a city because it doesn't have all the requirements to become one. It's part of a territory called Lepeche.
Right.
They do have a police station there, but the square footage of property that they have to cover, I can't imagine taking the OPP and replacing them, replacing city with OPP and covering the ground that they need to cover and still get the same service.
Yeah. And you're saying also you have to pay for the OPP. They don't just come for free.
No, they don't come for free. And they pay. You have to pay for how many visits, how many hours of two men in a car, all of those things. And like currently, Lyndhurst, for example, right next to St. Thomas, is paying an OPP price because Central Elgin is covered by them. So we like to share some more too. Look, we think there's some shared servicing we can all do better. Fire and police. Specifically, we already share across Elgin County emergency ambulance and such.
The emergency service, like the hospital here.
Right. If I can get one in, because we didn't talk yet about redistribution, political redistribution.
Well, we got a question in from Chris Patrick about that.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on the proposed realignment of federal and provincial ridings?
Well, I think it's a piece of crap. I honestly believe that this was a solution in search of a problem. Right? It really is. And look, and I get it. You give people placements to say, hey, go look at redistribution. Southern Ontario has a number of ridings and it's not changing. And yet the boundaries are redrawn all over the place like it was a crayon. We have to look at certainly St. Thomas Elgin staying in a community. That's us. We were a community. And if there was no new ridings added in Southern Ontario, why was there new lines drawn? Why wouldn't we just look at what we already have, expand it slightly if it has to be done, take population a little bit, and just test it. The requirements of the boundary commissions are please don't split up communities of like interest. Well, they did. And in a huge way, they were stupid about it. And second, please don't make rural areas or northern areas, doesn't matter in this case, but rural areas larger than are manageable. Well, Elgin, Middlesex, London is going from 3,300 square kilometers, which is the size of Prince Edward Island, to 6,600 square kilometers, which is twice that size. There's just no reason for it. Putting St. Thomas in with South London does nothing but improve London.
And where do we fit as a community in the priority list if we get moved into the London fray?
Well, and rightfully so. I was the member of parliament for London also in Elgin, Middlesex, London. And so I get that we can get along. But the community of interest, what you can't do is take us out of Elgin County. The rest of Elgin County, although it being a very rural community, is used to having St. Thomas as its seat. The city of St. Thomas runs social housing for all of Elgin County, the social welfare system for all of Elgin County, and shares with Elgin County on emergency services like ambulance. What if all of a sudden there's 2 ridings or 3 ridings? How does this work? Who do we go to when we need federal funding? Hello, who's the MP for this little piece? And who's the MP for this little piece? We need to make it. Look, I'll be making a presentation at the commission as the mayor of St. Thomas. I know that a number of others in town will be doing the same thing. We're all saying the same thing. I was on another radio station today about it, talking about how best to do it. But I haven't found anybody who thinks this is a good idea.
Well,
I've only found this is a problem.
I haven't heard a single person championing this new idea. Which is everyone's like, this is a horrible idea, and no one's saying this is a great idea and why they decided to do it.
Right.
I don't get it.
So it's an easy slam dunk then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It isn't that. As the chairman of the Procedure and House Affairs Committee in the last Parliament that last did redistribution, I did this. And it is more about coming to them with how wrong it is from a community of special interest. That I've got a lot more in common with Dutton, Ontario than I do London, Ontario.
100%.
Love you, Ed. Love you, London. Right? But we've got a lot more in common with Elmer and Bayham than we do with anything else. And that's the point. Yes, hey, it's nice to have London there. We can all go visit and go take in a night's game and go to the hospital or whatever else London is for. It's there. But St. Thomas needs to be the center of Elgin County. The mayor will continue to yell about that at a fairly loud pace.
Excellent.
Right?
Totally. And like we brought up with healthcare, that's all of a sudden you have St. Thomas in this little area here in all of Elgin County, and you have like 2 different...
Not a hospital.
Yeah.
Not a hospital in the rest of that riding. It's only in St. Thomas. We'll put up a wall. We could make some. No.
It doesn't make any logical sense to me.
No.
I don't know. Explain it to me.
No.
No one has.
Well, and I asked that question a couple times on radio this week. What was the problem that caused this solution? Because I don't see it. Right? We didn't get a new riding. If there was, we got to squeeze in. There's 120,000 more people. We got to squeeze them in. None of that is true. So why are we doing it?
All I'm seeing is more bureaucracy, more money spent. Because then you have a bureaucracy in St. Thomas and South London, and then
we
you
have no bureaucracy in St. Thomas, just so you know.
But you're splitting up, and then you're spending more money on these two different places.
We got to cover. We got to help others.
Yeah.
And look, there's shared services pieces that we're already doing well with our rural counterparts, and trust me, they're doing well with their urban counterparts too. We could share services a lot. We mentioned police, and it's another thing that could happen. So, what else we got?
All right, more questions, folks.
And I want to thank Chris for that question.
It was a great question.
More than thoughtful in making sure that I didn't forget today about it.
Margaret's asking for a ride to Caps Off anytime. Margaret, you let me know when you want to come on down here. We'll bring you on the show.
The Talbot bus runs right. No, I'm just.
And I've got to get those the gifts to Margaret because she won the trivia. We need to do the trivia.
Okay. You do trivia quick. While I sit here and look good. Because I don't know the questions this week.
We are. We're running out of time because I've got to get over to the Knights of Columbus because there's going to be a debate there, a municipal debate on the 21st, and we're going to live stream it for the Kinsmen who are hosting it.
Yeah. You get a whole 2 minutes to talk. I got 5 minutes to talk. Wait till you see all the stuff I can cover in 5 minutes.
Oh, it's going to be fast.
Well, no.
Fast and furious.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a comment from another candidate, Tara McCulley. She's a great show, so informative. Tara is an amazing candidate. I personally think she's phenomenal.
From our Economic Development Corporation, again, with that business background that I think council really needs.
Yep.
That's just me.
Yep. Oh, here we go. Those are our trivia questions. First one, how many time zones are there across Canada? And you know what? I totally messed this up. I put the answers in because I was in a rush. First person to answer them, you guys get it. We've got 2 prizes up for grabs this month.
Well, yeah, they just go into the September list.
They get into the draw
tonight.
They get into the draw. But the first person who catches what I just did, because I was in a hurry, Sharon Montgomery Anderson is on the money. She's got 6 for how many time zones? Yep. Okay. So she's got the first one.
What's the second question?
Second question. Canada has 2,860 of
hockey
these.
Rigs. Okay.
Twice as many as the U.S.
All right.
Well, I completely bombed
we made
this.
tonight real easy. Way to go. I like it. This is my kind of trivia.
Somebody's paying attention here.
Yeah, Sharon Montgomery Anderson. She is on the money. She is one of our top trivia answers. I think she has more questions answered than anybody else.
The Harvest Music Fest that's coming up on the 23rd, 24th, 25th of September is having like a 3-day trivia contest. Friday night is kind of the play downs. Saturday there's kind of playoffs, and Sunday the winners are chosen. I mean, I love my trivia. I'm a fountain of useless facts, so I'm a good guy to have on your trivia team, but I cannot be the only. And I'm not sure I can do 3 days of trivia. I'm in the middle of a campaign with a mayor. I might have things I have to do besides play trivia.
That means there's competition.
Okay, so
you know what? I'm going to give Deb and Faye also answered the hockey rinks, so we're going to throw you in the draw as well. So I'm going to put those in my phone right now.
Right.
For the draw for the end of the month.
At the end of September, you'll be in the. He's got this magic machine that mixes up names for us to win. So
bingo
ball. It's the digital version of the bingo ball.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Right.
it's fantastic.
Any other further questions tonight? I know that we've been we've taken almost an hour of your time here at Caps Off, and we've taken 1 mug worth. So Joe needs to stop and have perhaps one more of his mug.
Any quick comments on council? What was happening at council?
A lot of stuff this week. You should see what we do in this city. All right, let me quickly go through some of the council stuff from this week. The Orchard Park subdivision. We assumed Orchard Park this week. For those of you that know St. Thomas, what happens is builders give us subdivision plans, and we go through them, and they build houses, and we put in parkland, and they do streets and stuff. But it's really amazing when all of a sudden one of those subdivisions is completed. And we assumed it this week, so it's now St. Thomas property. Also going on this week, of course, if you've been up Sunset, we're running water and sewer to the northwest to a very large settlement area of new housing, new multifamily housing on the other side of Kettle Creek. And so that continues to happen. We had a report on the Jumbo Monument.
Oh yeah,
And I really want to tell you, Jumbo's not in perfect shape,
I've heard that.
right? And so we're doing some steps, and there is a Jumbo fund, a Jumbo renovation fund to help us relaminate Jumbo from a concrete point of view and make him better again.
Yep.
You remember the last time we regenerated Jumbo and repainted him?
Peter Robson did that, I believe.
Well, we painted him pink for a couple of days,
Loved
so people could go take pictures of the pink color. Anyway, maybe that will happen again during this. The Optimus Santa Claus Parade was approved by council, so coming up this year for the first time in 2 years, as we've got the Santa Claus Parade. We had a large presentation about the capital program, what works have been being done in St. Thomas, whether it's parking lots in One Password Park or the new roundabout at Axford and in the Lake Margaret subdivision and Forest Ave. Boy, I think we went down about 14 feet on Forest Ave to put in new water, sewers and such. And so a lot of capital work happening in St. Thomas, and we promised we would continue to do that. For those of you that have not heard, we'll say it a number of times. The St. Talbot Street will be under construction next year, from Mary Street to Ross Street. It will be deep, and it's one of the worst cases we have of where sewer and water pipes need to be replaced. So we put it off for a couple of years during COVID, and then because of COVID, we didn't want to do it this year. We didn't want to close downtown after it had been closed up for 2 years, so we put it off one more year. But we're in danger of failure on some of the water and sewer pipes. So next year, a pretty big.
If you don't mind me interjecting there, as a business person downtown, as owner, how is the city going to be able to direct citizens to shop and have access to?
At each intersection, and our back parking lots are accessed off side streets, not Talbot Street. So they all stay open, and many businesses in the previous area of downtown accessed through back doors and such, or at least people could park there and walk. In your case, the back parking lot, the parking lot off White Street, it is the White Street parking lot behind you. Then people can come around. But at each corner, and you're at the corner of St. Catherine's and Talbot, then there's other street parking that they can get to. You're in the middle of your block, and we'll work with every business we can on whether back access off the parking lot or sidewalks stay open as long as we possibly can before we dig them down. And there will be times. I mean, the other thing that happens on a downtown build like this one is we raise the sidewalk slightly so we get a lot more accessibility into some of the stores after we're done. So it's something a lot of merchants have been asking for.
And that's something a lot of people have been asking for.
Right. How do we get rid of this one step? And so as we start talking about the sidewalks, we'll certainly talk about that too, Sean. But you're absolutely right. This is not an easy time. Once every 30 years, we do this major of a renovation in front of some of our businesses, and we know that it just
a growing
has to
city. Infrastructure is major.
Yeah. And then the other one is development charges. We set development charges, and this is what home builders and apartment builders pay the city to hook up to our sewer and water and such.
Yeah.
Well, because we're moving now into an area in the Northwest that has no building at all yet, we've asked some developers who already own land there, would you prepay your development charges to the city, knowing that you will pay less when you do hook up. And so a couple of larger developers who are looking already at housing lots in Area 1 have said, we're happy to help the city. We in St. Thomas work off a story of growth pays for growth. Wherever it can, the city doesn't pay the money for growth. Growth pays for growth. So we're asking our developers to help us with that, and many have said yes, so it's working. All right. The building permit fees are about where they're supposed to be at this time of year. We had some lighting has gone in now on the Whistle Stop Trail. Remember we talked about that years ago about
Years
putting
and
lighting
years. Who was the
on-
champion on that?
Oh, Steve Wookie, far
Yeah.
by a long way. Steve's been just incredible at doing that. And now there's if you go that darkest section of Whistle Stop Trail just past my house,
Yeah.
right? There's now lights,
Yeah.
right? So you're not left there in the creepy. It's dark,
Right.
There's some lights. We're gonna do that with a lot more of our city trails also. And that's truly about all we had for this year, for this week on cities on the agenda. But sometimes we find it a bit dry, right? Oh, we have to vote on this subdivision agreement, or we have to vote on this wastewater agreement, or whatever it might be. One of the big capital projects we're doing right now is helping with odor control at our sewage treatment plant. Well, we've talked about it a number of times, right?
over the past several years.
The environment minister has finally given us approval. We've got 2 different monies that the province has given us towards helping with odor control at our pollution control plant. So that's happening too. Look, all of this stuff. Sometimes the mayor says, well, it's a little boring. Did the water come on when I pulled on the trap? Did my garbage get picked up Tuesdays like it's supposed to?
Yeah.
This is what a good city does. You just don't notice that happens. The toilet flushes, the garbage gets picked up, the snow gets plowed, and that's a large majority of what we do. One other thing happening this coming Sunday the 11th of September, that we didn't talk much about. The power's going off. Now, this originally had been about a whole day or 2 days worth of power outage. We've got Ontario Hydro and Integris down to 4:45 in the morning on Sunday to 7. The power will
7
be
a.m.?
7 a.m. So we're hoping everybody's still sleeping.
Yep.
But if you set your alarm to go to church, it won't go off. You'll be late. Pastor will forgive you. But that's what's happening. 4:45 till
Wind up.
7.
Wind up the old Mickey Mouse Club.
Or do whatever you
That's
have to
right.
do to right. Hey, by the way, you sleep in. The dog's going to get you up anyway. You'll be okay, right? But this is another piece of changing out a transformer in the north end that gives us power forever in St. Thomas, and the power we need to run industries and the rest of the new housing we have. So that's all the word from what's happening on the council this week at St. Thomas. Any other great? Oh, Wesley's got something.
Wesley was sharing, because there was a question while you were chatting about that, on whether council is televised, which it is on the city website. And so Wesley has generously provided the link.
Right. It streams on there. You can tune in. Don't stare directly at the mayor. But Rogers also does the first meeting of every month. And this was the first meeting of the month, and Rogers wasn't there. So we assumed there was a Rogers crisis.
Oh, you never know if
Right.
there's an outage.
No, of course. Could have been. Right. And so, not Rogers outage. Let's not go there. These people do nice shows on
They
the
do.
podcast.
I love
Yeah.
Rogers.
Yeah.
That is not.
Yeah. I'm telling them you said.
Don't tell
They
them.
know where you live.
Don't
No,
tell them.
But you're right. If you can't watch it on your Rogers TV, and not everybody has cable anymore.
Nope.
We stream every Monday, starting at 5:00. We start streaming the council, and we don't stop till we're done.
Yep.
So you can watch, and I believe that there's people there swearing as we move on. Yeah, right, on their keyboard, and I can pick it up on St. Thomas Happenings afterwards.
Absolutely. And I've got to run now because I got to get over and check the tech at the Columbus Hall for the debate. As you mentioned, 21st.
21st.
Learn about all your counselors, folks. It's really important.
Yep.
We've been talking about it for 4
I'll
years.
be at every one.
Please.
It's it's super important. This is our community. This is how you help get things done. Is by
You
being
got
involved.
questions for the mayor? Mayor's update. You got questions for any counselor? Come on out to one of these all candidates meetings and say, "Hey, right? Hey, Sean, nice hat."
Thanks.
No, it's
And I gave reasons why I wear it.
I saw that the other day.
Okay.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks.
We're gonna run along, and we'll see you next week, same time, maybe same place. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
And that's all, folks.
Thanks. I think Tony Esposito is better than this.